Good morning from the Handmade Highland workshop. I'm popping on today to talk a little bit about semi-transparent pixels and why they are the scourge of printing with white inks. When you lay down a layer of white ink and a layer of colour ink, you want them both to come together and the white ink to be hiding behind the colour. Obviously, alignment is incredibly important when it comes to printing, but even if your alignment is absolutely 100% spot on, semi-transparent pixels can ruin your image. If you've ever printed out a graphic that's got white ink behind it, and you've pressed it onto a black shirt and there is still a white halo around your image, it is very likely to be semi-transparent pixels. In a raster-based program like Photoshop, what they tend to do with graphics to make the images or the edges look smoother, which is called anti-aliasing, it creates very light or almost unnoticeable semi-transparent pixels. So if you zoom right into your graphic and you look right along the edge, you're going to see like a fuzzy 50%, 20%, even 3% of the colour that was on the main image. What that does is when it goes to the RIP software, and it lands in the RIP software can see that. And now what it's done is gone, there is a pixel there, regardless of how light or how soft it is, and said there needs to be white ink behind that pixel. When it prints, you're now going to have a white back on something that is almost unnoticeable to the eye. When you are creating graphics for any kind of printing that requires a white background, be it UV, DTF, DTG, what you want to do is get into your graphics software before you take it into your RIP software and have a good look at the edges. And if you have to, remove the semi-transparent pixels before you send it to print, because it is not going to look very nice on anything that is dark coloured with the halo round about it. Let me show you a quick example of semi-transparent pixels and where you would get a white border around your image if you didn't look at it. So I'm going to zoom. I take this to 600%. Now are you seeing the area here? So that there is what a semi-transparent pixel is. Let me go a wee bit further. So that's us at 1000%. So right here is what they call anti-aliasing, and that's supposed to make the image look softer around the edges, but you don't want that on your image. When you take your graphic into your RIP software now for printing, those pixels there, the ones right along the edge at the bottom, will print a white layer, so you're going to end up with a horrible white halo around this graphic. What I do before I print, in Photoshop I use an action from a company called Pixel Mosh Pit, which when I click it, it runs automatically and removes the semi-transparent pixels from the graphic. Now, I know it looks quite rough when you do that, but trust me, when it prints absolutely fine. If I turn on the original image, and I come in close here, can you see the pixels that disappear? That is definitely one of the most important things, in my opinion, when dealing with images for a print system like DTF, DTG, UV. Even UV stickers will produce, not only will it run the white past the edge, it'll also run the varnish past the edge, which you also don't want to do. For me, semi-transparent pixels are actually 100 times worse than minute misalignment with your printer. Mild misalignment can be dealt with by using choke. Even the most perfectly aligned printer will have some leeway when it comes to printing, and that's choke. That's what you use, where you make the white ink hide behind the black or the coloured graphic by a few millimetre or a few pixels. And generally most people run their choke up to about 5 pixels choked back from the original graphic. Now that is tiny. If you take into consideration what a pixel looks like, it's teeny tiny dots that brings back the white. Now sometimes there could be a reason why your printer doesn't make the graphic spot on in the middle of what you're printing, and choke helps with that, just to make sure that both come together but don't show. But with a semi-transparent pixel, doesn't matter what your choke is running at, it is still going to pick up the fact that there is a coloured pixel, however light it is, and put white behind that, which means that it doesn't matter how perfectly print or how perfectly aligned or how perfectly set up your printer is, if the graphic's not right, the print's not going to be right. As always, if you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments. I answer all questions in the comments. Please, if you feel that you need to ask something about semi-transparent pixels, or in fact just DTF, DTG, UV, anything like that, just drop me a message below. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, ring that bell. Love ya, bye.